It's not fair. Frodo, Gandalf, Aragorn, and the rest of the Fellowship get all the glory, but without the brave struggles of so many others, they never would have had a chance to succeed. Lord of the Rings War in the North tells the tale of 3 new heroes, and it gives you much of what you'd want from a hack-and-slash RPG set in Middle-earth. There's sweet loot, powerful abilities to acquire, and tons of orcs and cave trolls to slay. Unfortunately, this game's bright spots only make it that much more disappointing when frustrations arise to overshadow this heroic adventure. Andriel of Rivendell, Eridan of the Dunedain Rangers, and Farron, champion of Erebor, have joined forces. This union of elves, dwarves, and men sets out to foil the evil forces of Agandaur, a servant of Sauron whose schemes threaten free peoples who reside far from the conflicts in Rohan and Gondor. The story isn't anything special, but the game makes good use of a wide range of locations, taking you to creepy barrows, snowy mountains, dwarven mines, and other places that evoke the atmosphere of the Lord of the Rings films. And fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's books will appreciate references to and appearances by characters from the novels who were left out of the movies.
Radagast, are you well?
Regardless of which hero you select, your basic abilities in battle are the same. You have light and heavy melee attacks and a ranged attack. After an enemy has suffered some damage, a symbol indicates that he's vulnerable to a critical strike, and performing a heavy attack at this moment does extra damage and may sever some limbs, even if you're wielding a dull staff. The sight of limbs flying and black blood spilling brings some grim satisfaction to the combat, but that satisfaction is too often lost in frustration. In the early hours, you don't have enough abilities for combat to stay interesting for long, but you still have to fight wave after wave of enemies. And certain enemies, like the kamikaze goblin sappers, do so much damage that you'll probably spend way too much time crawling around on the ground, waiting to be revived by one of your fellow party members.
We're meant to have long lives. I thought elves were meant to have long lives.
As you level up, you put points into skill trees and acquire useful new techniques, which make combat more enjoyable. The elf can cast a shielding dome which heals party members, for instance, while the ranger can unlock dual wielding and become a much more effective damage dealer. You also periodically get your hands on exciting loot, and it feels good to mow down hordes of enemies with a powerful new weapon. But even as these elements make your progress more rewarding, new frustrations crop up and old ones remain. When your companions fall in battle, you may find them surrounded by enemies whose attacks knock you to the ground, making it all but impossible to revive them. And should your entire party fall, you often have to replay surprisingly lengthy and difficult sections. There's no option to save manually, so you're at the mercy of the game's infrequent autosaves. War in the North is a game about fellowship, and it's more fun to face its joys and frustrations with friends. But the online multiplayer has its own problems. If you invite a friend who hasn't played through as much of the game as you have to join you, the disparity in your character's levels can make it difficult to progress together. Technical issues also interfere with your cooperative quest. Enemies might appear to be dead to one player and alive to another, or you might see prompts informing you that your friend is dying and needs your aid when he or she is perfectly fine. There are times when War in the North shows you the game it could have been, with the exhilaration of mowing down fearsome foes, or the satisfaction of seeing your character become more powerful makes you want to press on. But each time the game starts to hit its stride, it soon stumbles and falls on its face. For a trio of heroes whose destiny is to save the northern regions of Middle-earth, this fellowship spends too little time earning glory and too much time crawling around in the mud.
We cannot take much more.
Come on, dwarf. There are still foes to defeat.
By my faith, that was a close one.